Hey, it's leading off. What's up, everybody? It's Chris Welsh. Joining me on this beautiful Thursday is Andrew Seifter, and we are in the house to get you set for all your playoffs, all your stuff, all your things. Talk about rookies who we were going to maybe cut who hit home runs. And, that guy, Aaron Judge. Of course, Andrew Seifter. Andrew, 55 homers for Aaron Judge. No big deal. Also, getting a little Barry Bonds treatment, 5 walks in the doubleheader yesterday. Aaron Judge is quite the MVP.
Yeah, we've had this discussion about Ohtani versus Judge, and Ohtani has the edge because of the pitching, but Judge is making it really hard to dispute what he's doing. It's really impressive, and I think I saw Gray from Razzball on Twitter doing that comparison to Barry Bonds and talking about how he remembers playing fantasy when Barry Bonds set that home run record, and it really is starting to feel like that with all these walks and 20 more home runs than anybody else in the league. It's really special.
It is in that range, and pitchers and teams are starting to approach him like that. I don't think any team is going to want to be the team that is going to give up, the call, the homer, the big one that's going to break any record. So we'll see how that goes the rest of the way. And funny enough, we had the wonky bonus yesterday. Dang, by the way, don't remember this, the Ohtani versus Judge. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to avoid going into it. Just can't help it sometimes. It's always so tough, too, with these things where it's like every day one of the big pieces of news, it's like it's Ohtani or Judge doing something. And they both hit homers yesterday, and Judge just keeps going. So I apologize, of course, but we don't need to go through the MVP conversations or anything like that. But it was funny because yesterday Wonky had the bonus for the home run call, which the bonus was taking a player who had a double-digit number, so like 11, 22, 33, and you would get to rock with that, except Judge wasn't available because Judge was in a doubleheader. That's part of the home run contest rules, which I found out a couple months ago. And there was a controversy. Bradley was calling us out on it. Joe got back into it, all in fun. And Judge, of course, was the only double-digit number guy to hit that home run, and it did not count for anybody. But number 55, now 5 away. We are in the 5-homer territory of greatness across the board. 5 more for 60 and 5 more for 700 for Pujols. So it's a pretty kind of fun time right now with like 20-ish days left of baseball to get going. Andrew, I'm going to get your take on this. Yesterday, Kelly and I were talking about Corbin Carroll, talking about rookies in general. Gunnar Henderson has been really solid. You and I think had this conversation a week or so ago where it's like at the end of the day, when these top prospects are going to come up and they're going to get regular time, most likely the person you're going to ask us, like, hey, should I cut this guy? It's probably going to be a yes. We were cutting Whit Merrifield. We were cutting Ahmed Rosario. We were cutting some of these players to bring in these guys. Gunnar's played well, and Corbin had not really been playing fantastic. The first couple of games were good, kind of cooled down a little bit, sitting versus lefties occasionally. Well, yesterday, this does what he does, picks it back up, hits his first Carroll barrel, as I like to call it, got his first home run, was 2 for 4, got his average back up. He's now into the 280s. I want to get your take on how volatile you are willing to be with a lot of these rookies right now if they're struggling. How quick on the burn and churn are you going to be? And how tightly do you want to hold on to guys like Gunnar and Corbin Carroll to make sure they get it right with these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's really tough because, in a redraft league, as we get closer to the end of the season, you're more excited about these players than it really warrants, to be honest, because they are, like you said, volatile. They could be great or they could struggle. So it depends what sort of position you're in. If you're in a rotisserie league and you've got a lead and you're just trying, if you just take care of business, you're going to win. You should go for more stable players in that situation, I would argue. If you need to, catch lightning in a bottle, like we talked about, and make up ground on people on these final weeks, or you have a head-to-head playoff matchup and you look at the other team and you say, that team looks better than my team. I need something special. I need Corbin Carroll. In that situation, I would absolutely roll the dice on it. So it really does matter your individual situation. I think we tend as fantasy analysts to get super excited about these young prospects. But if you're not in a keeper or dynasty league, you're really just making a bet on who's going to be best in these next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the positive is that Carroll's moved up in the order a little bit. I think he was hitting 5. Diamondbacks have been hitting really well. So that's something to keep positive about. With all of the rookies coming up, one of the interesting things that's going on, Bogman and I on the In This League Fantasy Baseball podcast, we're looking at hot bats for the last 2 weeks, pickups you could do. And some of the top pickups, you have some guys that, are stealing some bases. Michael Taylor, Jose Siri are stealing bases versus, let's take out Gunnar and Corbin for a second. Take those guys off the table versus a lot of hitting prospects, because those two are specifically 5-tool. There's not a lot of those guys, and those are the biggest names. But there are some big name prospects that are sitting around that aren't like that. You've got Tristan Casas, you've got Michael Toglia, who hit another homer yesterday, and getting the call tomorrow is Josh Young, Jung. Looks like Jung. It's Young. Josh Young with the Rangers is getting the call up. And this is another one of these guys, funny enough, I told you guys, what was it, like 5 weeks ago, when he was rehabbing right across the street, and I was at his first game he had in like a year. And now, he's 124 at bats through the minor leagues, or at least, rookie ball in AAA, hit 9 homers, had 1 stolen base, 266. But here's my point, is you've got these guys with great hit tools. Young would be my prioritization over both Casas and Toglia. Toglia might be number 2 right now over Casas because of the power, but these are not stolen base options. So you have high hit tool prospects getting everyday playing time versus kind of boring Jose Siri, Michael Taylors, who are doing a little bit of everything with stolen bases. How would you prioritize the boring, no name, they're hot going right now, Series and Michael Taylors versus no stolen bases, but hot hit prospects out of Josh Young, Casas, and Michael Toglia?
Well, it really depends again on format. First of all, you need to be in that roto league where you need those steals. If you need the steals, you got to follow the steals. I would argue though that there's another prospect you didn't even mention that I would prefer over at least a couple of those guys, and that's Alec Burleson, who just got the call with the Cardinals, because that guy's actually been mashing in the minors, unlike Josh Young, who I love long term, but let's be real, his minor league numbers don't look that special. So I think we're at a part of the season now where I'm less concerned about who's the higher prospect and, going to be the best in 5 years from now. I want to know who's going to be the best next week. And, there's also an argument for stepping into the Cardinals lineup. That's a fantastic lineup. I think we've seen this with the Braves as well. When these prospects get this opportunity in this loaded lineup, they have better lineup protection. They're going to have more ability to drive in runs. So I think that makes a real difference in fantasy. Like a guy like Toglia, sure, I'll play him at Coors if you see the schedule and he's got some games coming up at Coors, but he's still got a ton of swing and miss to his game, so he could really struggle. And strike out 4 times in a game at any given time. So I like Burleson right now.
So would you go, because it's just about at the same level here, would you go Burleson over Josh Young as far as what you're going to prioritize?
Yeah, if it's not a keeper league, I'll take Burleson. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Burleson has had a fantastic minor league season this year, 20 homers, 331. He's hit 143 hits on the year, 372 OBP, and he moved 3 levels last year, which was really impressive. He spent the entire year at AAA this year. Last year was a pretty successful season, doesn't steal a whole lot, but also doesn't strike out a whole bunch. You got to imagine he's probably going to be hitting 7 or 8 for this team, and hopefully that's going to be, enough. But, they got a lot of injuries on that front. He's going to get some work. It's not a bad gig. I still dig Josh Young. That's going to probably might be where I go with it. But Burleson is a nice sneaky pickup. Sneaky pickups is kind of the game plan. It's the play of the day here. Jake McCarthy has been that. Lars Nootbaar, it happens to be in the chat right here with these names. These guys have been sneaky pickups this year. And the biggest strategy really everybody can be given is just have, a short memory. If you have to cut a guy, just kind of forget about him and move on. Don't think about it because there's only so much time here. And Bogman brought up this great point. We were talking about, this is a big one. We were talking about Luis Robert and how Robert has struggled. He has struggled. I think he's like hitting under 200 in the last 2 weeks. In the last month, it hasn't been great. And someone in a little bit of a smaller league was dealing with a situation of like, should we drop Robert? And they listed off some players that are out there. It was guys like Brian Reynolds and Hunter Renfroe and Jake McCarthy. And we said, at the end of the day, here's an experiment for you. Think of what Robert's line is going to be the rest of the season, and think of what it's going to look like from those streaming bats. If you could start streaming them, get Renfroe in for 3 days, get McCarthy in, you're probably going to beat it exponentially what Robert does the rest of this year with those type of streaming options. So, it's a case by case situation of what's available out there. But streaming at this point is probably going, and obviously your pickups are going to be something to think about, but it's probably going to outperform these names that are just sitting out there hitting 220. So I know I'm,
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
crowd that all knows this.
Well, and it's like, as analysts, when we put together our rankings, that's something I think is really important to do, is try to actually put real projections out there in your mind, like put numbers to your biases, and see how it works out. Because oftentimes, like you said, you'll find out that your bias was way off, and even though one guy might be the more exciting, dynamic player, the other guy actually will help you win your league more in these next few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. A few other headlines here. Kyle Finnegan gave up 5 earned runs in the bottom of the 9th to allow St. Louis a 6-5 victory. Implosion is what we would call that, Andrew. Implosion.
Yeah. You usually ask me when I come on how I'm doing, and I was all prepared to start with that because that really ruined my day. I'm trying to close out a fantasy title here, and I have Kyle Finnegan in my lineup. That's a serious killer. The only saving grace is it's a roto league and not a head-to-head playoff matchup where it would pretty much sink me instantaneously. So I can still try to hold on, but that was sure not something I was looking to see.
I was about to tell you, it might be closed out either way for you. Just the result might not be exactly what you want. And this is a very big surprise one, because I was just talking about this yesterday, like I said, on ITL. And this is not the news that we saw, and this came down today, because I was at the point of saying you probably could move on. But Wander Franco is going to meet the Rays in New York and could be activated as early as Friday. Whoa, because Wander Franco has had his rehab stint stopped twice with soreness and injury in that wrist. And the Rays just said, screw it. And this is, I wish, by the way, more teams would do. Screw it at this point in the year and having to throw a guy into a rehab stint. Have him do that at the major leagues. Like, plenty of these guys. Now, obviously, this is a younger guy and he's had some struggles and stuff, so I get it. But these extended minor league times, especially for veterans and stuff, is always silly to me. And they just said, screw it. We're going to get him at the majors. They're going to activate him as of Friday. That is not what I expected. And you're going to be able to get some Wander production, whatever that's going to be. Unfortunately, what I do hate to say is I might throw Wander back into that same Luis Robert conversation of saying, obviously, if you're in a deeper league, this doesn't matter, like me. But if you're in like a 10 or 12 and you've got like a rightful, set of free agents out there, that I'm not sure you won't be able to do better streaming at this point instead of just locking into Wander, because we really just don't know, hand and wrist and all those type of injuries. There's a lot of zapping power that kind of went away for Wander. It was really that beginning of the month. And I know you haven't been very big on Franco, so you're probably not jumping up and down for joy that he's going to be activated.
No, I hate it that I'm becoming like the Wander Franco hater, but yes, I guess I'll just own it. When it comes to category leagues, he just hasn't shown, what power is there really to sap? I mean, he has 5 home runs in 58 games this season. Never really put up massive home run numbers in the minors either. So he's a great long-term prospect, but at least with Luis Robert, like, he gives you the category juice. It's just a question of, can he actually be on the field? I mean, he's just always missing time. But with Franco, even when he's been on the field, even before the injury, when he was healthy, his production was not as advertised.
Yeah, and I think when you say like what power is, it's about the potential with him. It's there. It's just not tapped into, and it's going to get there with Franco. That's why I have such a still long-term like aggressiveness on him, and the hit tool is so elite. But I had a problem with him in draft season where I remember giving P a crap for it. We were doing a draft. I think he did it with us very, very early on, and he had taken Wander like in the 2nd round. And I was like, dude, I can't do it because there's so many guys out here. There's so many shortstops out here with better counting stat potential production that I'm not going to eat all these rounds of value just for batting average. And that's kind of where Franco, unfortunately, is sitting. But either way, he's going to be activated for you guys that want to end up making those moves. Here's some injuries. Juan Soto was removed from Wednesday's game after getting hit by a pitch on his back. He says he'll definitely be ready for Friday's game to open up the weekend series against the Dodgers. So a little bad, but a little good that he'll be back. Protect our Juan Sotos, except, he hasn't really been hitting that well either.
Yeah, I think his biggest injury right now might be a bruised ego, actually, because he's been getting booed by his home fans there in San Diego. And San Diego is not a
Yeah,
place that is known for.
chill. We traded all this stuff. Chill, chill, chill. We need him to resign.
Yeah, well, it's not a place that's known for its vitriol. I would say it's a pretty laid back place from my experience, but he certainly struggled since he got there. And Juan Soto's a really great guy, but this is a lot of pressure for him to walk right into a playoff chase, and with those contractual issues and the amount of prospects that they gave up to get him. So it's a lot of pressure, and he was having kind of a disappointing season even before he went to the Padres. He's now barely a top 100 overall player in 5x5 leagues, which is really, I mean, he's barely the most valuable Soto in fantasy.
Yeah. Ooh, boo. Gregory Soto shot. I don't like that. This is actually kind of my take that Wonky had, that they're taking out their anger on Tatis. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of like frustration because it's like a super-ish team that the Padres keep building and mortgaging future, and they can't get over the hump and they can't win games, and the frustration kind of pours over a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how Soto progresses. Tyler O'Neill sitting out Thursday with neck stiffness. I thought I saw this morning, maybe I was incorrect, but I thought I saw he went on the IL, and that was what pushed Alec Burleson, but maybe not. Maybe that's
Dylan Carlson is on the IL.
That's what it was. Dylan Carlson was put on the IL, and Tyler O'Neill sitting, which has got Alec Burleson in. And an MRI confirmed an ankle sprain for Wilson Contreras. No structural damage here. And a note is fantasy managers should consider moving on from him, as he might not play the rest of the way. This was a note from Wonky, which, yeah, I agree with that. I agree. If you got a sprained ankle, the Cubs, I'm not really sure what that's going to look like the rest of the year. There's probably going to be better catcher options that are going to be sitting out on the wire, and I would as well. I would probably move on from Contreras if you need to. I always want to give that as a preface, because I think everybody throws around all these statements like, oh, you can cut him, you can get rid of him, and it's like, well, if you need to. If you've got an IL, drop the guy in an IL, then you don't have to have any of these worries. But if you are in an IL crunch, I do have a couple leagues where my ILs are full and I've got to start making decisions. And if that's the case, this is probably somebody you can move on from due to that injury and the lack of production you're going to get rest of year. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think, an added wrinkle here is that he's an impending free agent. So I feel like the Cubs, they don't have any reason to rush him back. They probably need to start figuring out the position long term, and I think this is a reasonable moment for them to basically say, okay, thank you for your service. It's time for us to go in a new direction now.
Yeah. Look at the chat too. They're ready to jump on the Padres too. Drury fell off a wall. Chris said, wasn't he supposed to be the next Mantle for Soto? Ooh, they're turning. They're all turning. That's actually, this is really funny. Bogman brought this up to me of like, he's like, have you ever seen like Padres Twitter? And I do, but I see the positive side of Padres Twitter since I cover a lot of their minor leagues out here locally. And, I get video of these guys. I'm around a lot of these guys. So I get all the positivity of the people that are like the future and hey, all these prospects. And they get very excited that I'm sharing stuff. But
yeah, well, I live in the Washington, D.C. area. So I have a little different perspective on it. He was so beloved in this area, and DC is on the East Coast, but the fan base is not like the Northeast. I mean, I grew up in Boston. The fan base in DC is very different. They really love their players, and they maybe don't expect that much of them, honestly. But I think the real disappointment here was, of course, that when they traded Trey Turner, the whole reason was so they could keep Juan Soto, and then that didn't turn out happening either. But it's always tough with these things. These guys that are loved with the team that they come up with, they go to a new situation and they don't have that history with that fan base. So it's huge expectations, a lot of pressure, and it can go sour really quickly.
Very, very true. No time. All right, little palate cleanser here. A couple things. This day in baseball, 1972, Fergie Jenkins of the Chicago Cubs beat Philadelphia Phillies 4-3 for his 20th victory of the season. It was the sixth straight year that Jenkins won at least 20 games. Can you imagine? I can only think of a handful of like guys that have won 20 games in the last like 10 or 15 years. And unfortunately, the first one that comes to my dumb brain is Ian Kennedy because with the Diamondbacks. So to think of 6 straight seasons, Fergie Jenkins was quite the thing.
I'm curious how many starts he made that season, because I feel like that was the tail end of the era where pitchers would just throw 3 times a week or something like that. I'm not sure he actually was doing that though.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Here's another modern day era question for you, and you can partake in this one. This one I just thought was fascinating. I was really interested in it. And the question is, no cheating anybody. Who holds the modern era record for most consecutive strikeouts to begin a game? And this is a two-parter. I'll give you credit for. What's the number and then the player? Because I think that's like, if someone says the guy and the number, I'm going to immediately think you cheated. There's no way. But again, the question is, who holds the modern era record for most consecutive strikeouts to begin a game? So bing, bang, boom, they keep going. I will accept either the number and the name. I'll give you credit if you get the number. Any guesses to who this person is? The one other hint I will give you, it is like it's a guy that's going now. It's not,
it is. Okay, because I was
going now.
Maybe it was that Fergie Jenkins trivia, but I had my mind back in the 60s with like Bob Gibson or Sandy Koufax or something.
Nope, it's a guy that's pitching this season. So modern day consecutive strikeouts to begin a game.
How about Verlander?
It's a great guess. That is not, but that's a great guess.
Nine strikeouts.
That is the number. You know.
Hey, I got half credit.
Yeah, I'm going to give you that. Okay, so you got the number. It is 9 strikeouts to begin a game. 9 strikeouts. This actually made me laugh. Vapor said Chris Davis. Not that type of strikeout. That is the best guess I've ever. I mean, that's actually making me laugh. Like it's building and building and building. It's making me laugh. 9 strikeouts. You absolutely nailed the number. Now the pitcher. Does anybody have it? JP guessed Corbin Burns. That is incorrect. Wonky said Blake Snell. Oh man, that's not right, man. That's not it.
Kershaw.
Ohtani is a guess. Kershaw. These are all great guesses. It's gonna be rough for you guys to get it. I'll let you sit on it, and we'll do some stat heroes, and we'll come back to it. I'm gonna give you one extra hint. It's an NL pitcher. It's a current NL pitcher. So there's your other little hint that you get. Like Kershaw would have been a great guess, but that's not it. Let's go through some stat heroes. Aristides Aquino, 3 for 4, 2 homers, 3 RBI. Woo, this is like our once or twice a year little gift we get from Aquino until he goes back into his hole until winter comes back. So 2 homers, 3 RBI. Eric Haas, 5 for 5 with a homer. David Villar, 2 homers, going 2 for 3 with 3 RBI. Eloy Jimenez coming back into it with a homer. Edmundo Sosa, we've mentioned his name a couple times over the last week. He had a homer with 3 RBIs. Dalton Varsho had 2 bombs. Michael Tolia, homer with 4 RBIs. Max Muncy, Eugenio Suarez, and Vaughn Grisham. Eugenio Suarez, 2 homers. He has been quite the little productive offensive player, and it makes me think back to the beginning of the year when I'm pulling up his stats here, when Mike Mayer had pulled up this weird, crazy thing in the first month that essentially said Eugenio Suarez was more valuable than Jose Ramirez. It was like Yahoo's points league algorithm or some nonsense, and we were all laughing about it. But Andrew Suarez has put up 27 homers, but only a 233 batting average this year. You think Suarez is on the uptick for next year as a guy we need to keep an eye on, or is that batting average still going to keep him down in the drudges?
I mean, it's hard to say he's on the uptick. He's 30 years old. I think we know what kind of a player he is at this point. And he has tons of power, and he strikes out 30% of the time. So he's going to hit for a low average. Back when he played in Cincinnati, I feel like that was ideal for him. And he did have that 49 home run season back in 2019 when everybody was hitting a lot of home runs. But, it's not quite as easy for him in Seattle. He's still big time power. But, yeah, I mean, the warts are very apparent with him.
Vaughn Grisham continues to keep rolling. Grissom, if I say it correctly. 5 homers, 4 stolen bases, 347 batting average. Been playing some outfield, so as soon as Ozzie comes back out, I don't think that bat is going anywhere in the lineup. So feel really good about that. On the pitching side, Jacob deGrom struck out 8 over 7. That under 8.5 K prop, if it exists anywhere, has cashed, I think, 2 of the last 3 times. Alek Manoah had 5 strikeouts in 8 innings. Chris Bassett struck out 10 over 7. Garrett Cole struck out 14 in 6 2/3. And Kyle Freeland had 8 strikeouts in 6 innings in a rare good Colorado performance. Now, the correct name has been said, and I'm going to give him credit. I'm going to assume he didn't cheat here because maybe he just is a fan. Pablo Lopez was the answer to the trivia question. Pablo Lopez started off a game in 2021 against the Braves with 9 consecutive strikeouts. For whatever reason, that's insanely impressive to me. That is something that jumps out to me, and I don't know what, perfect innings, I don't know. That just doesn't really like do it for me. But that number specifically just jumps way out to me, and I love that 9 straight consecutive strikeouts.
Yeah, there should be a name for that because we've got strike out the side as a name, so we need something for strike out the entire lineup consecutively.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's think about it. I like that. I like where your head is going here. By the way, Wonky, you're right about this. You just realized we thought not one single double-digit number guy hit a homer, but Aristides Aquino, who's 44, that was the one guy yesterday that would have got the Wonky bonus if someone would have picked. So I'm just pointing that out. Stat zeros. Kyle Garlick went 0 for 7 with 5 strikeouts in the doubleheader. That's hard to do. Ronald Guzman 0 for 5 with 4 Ks. Cody Thomas 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. And Tyler O'Neill 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. That's been a pretty copy and paste line for him, kind of back to his old ways. On the pitching side, Eric Lauer got lit up, 7 earned runs and 2 2/3, only 2 strikeouts. Tommy Henry, my guy with the Diamondbacks, gave up 5 earned runs. He started off pretty nice, but then it unveiled, and I think he gave up like 3 or 4 homers, 4 1/3. Oviedo had 4 earned runs in 2 innings, just under 2 innings. Alex Cobb gave up 3 earned runs, but couldn't get out of the 5th. And Michael Kopech did hit his K prop, who we talked about yesterday, but he only went 3 2/3 with 4 earned runs. So no bueno. So as we mentioned, the home run contest, no one really got to take advantage of the double home run calls. So just keep that in mind because the contest is getting real close. I don't have an overlay for you. I was not given one today, but friends, we have a tie at the top of the home run race because Cat Fox got on the board yesterday with a Mike Trout homer and is now tied with D Blum. We have 2 people at the top with 49 home runs. High Cubby has been at the top of this list like all freaking year, and he's down at 48. L-Scales at 48. Go Cards at 47. Mike Mayer and Joey still on the board, unfortunately, but D Blum and Cat Fox at the top. They are racing this bad boy out to be the home run king of leading off in Fantasy Pros. I want to remind you guys as well, speaking of all of this fun stuff, if you guys have enjoyed the podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And if you do, Fantasy Pros in September is giving away the Austin Riley 2021 Signed World Series ball. Just for subscribing, rating, and reviewing, one person's going to win. So just think of your odds. It's pretty good. It's all you got to do. And also give a like on the video side here for all the video stuff. BetMGM. Yes, it is time. Let's see if I can do this today. I don't know how my hair is going to look. The hat hasn't really been working. So here we go. There we go. I don't have my crown, but I have my tiara to tell you guys all about our friends over at BetMGM. Andrew, do you like my tiara? Do you like the red?
I do. It's in honor of the Queen. Let's hope she makes a quick recovery.
I did see that. In honor of the Queen and in honor of BetMGM on both sides, we wear the tiara of good luck. And you guys can have that same luck, even if you don't have a tiara, by going over to BetMGM. Just looking at myself is ridiculous. BetMGM, I look like there's so many things to say. I look just like fat Wonder Woman with a beard.
Some people are meant to be royalty and others aren't, Chris. I don't know what to tell you.
You know, I actually hate to tell you this. I am technically a lord. Not many people know this, but
really?
I am technically a lord. I have a little plot of land in Glencoe, wherever.
How have you not incorporated this into your fantasy persona? You could be the fantasy lord.
Well, I'm not really into the bits that I have my own little bits, but I don't do I'm not like Roto Lord, whatever, but I am Lord Welsh technically. So you all,
well, I had no idea, Your Highness.
Now, yeah, ITL members do know, listeners know that I am a lord. So I have to wear my tiara for you guys to tell you guys about BetMGM. Just use promo code leading off. If you guys want to go sign up. I actually just reloaded with some BetMGM and set up some bets for some football that's coming up this week and some college football. Bogman and I did. And you guys can do it if you've never done it before. Use the promo code leading off. You get a $1,000 risk-free bet. It's a pretty good deal. You're supporting the podcast. You're letting them know that you're listening to Leading Off, which is good. And you could, we really, if I was here next year doing this, I would want the promo code to be Tiara. I really think it should be Tiara. I think everybody else agrees with me, but we'll do that. Hair actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, taking that off while wearing the hat. BetMGM. That means we got some bets for you. So here are a couple I'm going to throw at you real quick, Andrew. You tell me what you like. Over on bettingpros.com, their prop cheat sheet always gives us good information. And I take the top total base and strikeout and the plus plays. Joey Meneses is the number 1 play of the day, but it is juice to hell. Minus 215 on DK, but it is for 1 total base. They are projecting almost 2. So you're going to have to parlay that with something. There's a plus money play. Their number one is Dermis Garcia, who just needs one total base in the game, and it is plus 105 on DK. So if you wanted to play the algorithm, you can maybe parlay those two together. On the pitching side, the number one K prop is Josiah Gray, who is going up against St. Louis. Only need 4.5. They're projecting over 5. It's minus 108 on FanDuel. And then the plus money play is Kyle Gibson against the Marlins at 4.5 strikeouts. It's plus 112 on FanDuel. So anything out of those that you like, Andrew? Would you pick one?
I mean, I know you're saying it's really juice, but that Joey Meneses one, I mean, that's like a walk in the park, man. He's going to have that in the first inning.
I kind of think so too. Yeah. Well, it's not a Tuesday, as we mentioned, so it might be a little bit tougher. But yeah,
in my column at Fantasy Pros, my waiver wire, when I first wrote about him like a month and a half ago, whenever he first started hitting, I called him the nominee for the Frank Schwindel of 2022 award, and he is definitely earning that award. He continues to rake. I see no end in sight, at least until the end of this season.
He actually might be one of the biggest surprises of this year from absolute nobody. I mean, as a prospect person, was not on any type of radar whatsoever, and then hitting the way he is, one of the bigger surprises of this year that has some pretty good impact for you on the back end here. So if you want to, like I said, you got to parlay that thing because it's, it's 2-1 against your money. So you got to put that with something and go and check it out. There's also, it's a big strikeout prop day as well. You got Dylan Cease, you got Sandy Alcantara, you got Corbin Burns. If you like any of those, I believe the Cease number is 8.5 in betting pros like the under, kind of like Sandy's, if I'm being honest with you guys, against Philly. I think it was only 5.5. So that would be one I would take. Maybe get Sandy and Meneses, and you can put those two together into a little two-teamer and get some bets going. So go and check it out. Over on the DFS side, Dylan Cease 10-8 on FanDuel, Sandy Alcantara 10-2, Corbin Burns 9-8 for the big dog pitchers. I don't think there's a lot of, I don't know. I mean, obviously you might want to pivot off of some of the lower pitchers, but I'm not a big fan of a whole bunch of them. Lineup builders for implied runs. No one was implied for over 5 today, but Milwaukee, St. Louis, and the Cubs were all your top projected runs. So if you guys want to build some stacks out of those, you want to get some guys high in the lineup, maybe a little Seiya Suzuki or something, you could put those together. And that leads us finally to the home run call of the day. Look at this. Mike Mayer just jumps on the list and took my same guy. Unbelievable Mayer when he does this. But I love him, though. It's kind of a BVB play. I'm going with Bryce Harper, as is Mike Mayer. But what does it matter? I haven't been hitting homers, so I just need to ride anybody's coattails. But me and Mayer are going together. Wonky's got Christian Yelich for the day. Andrew, who are you going to go with? There's not a ton of great options. Actually, a lot of good pitching today. But where are you going to go for home run call?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I always pick Cardinals, and today I have to pick a Cardinal, really, as long as I'm allowed to. The game started 20 minutes ago, but I have not checked the stats yet. You look at the slate today, and you've got a doubleheader, so that's out. You've got Alcantara, Sonny Gray, Nestor Cortez pitching. I don't really want to think against those guys. Then the Cubs and the Reds and the Marlins don't hit any home runs, really. So I have to. You notice I didn't pick Josiah Gray for that prop bet. I'm going to pick the Cardinals to do a little bit of damage to Josiah Gray today. So give me Nolan Arenado since I've been taking Goldschmidt lately. I'll go with Arenado.
All right. Nolan Arenado is the marker. And friends, that is it for the show. That's it for the podcast. That's it for the live stream. We are back tomorrow. Chris Clegg is in action. Andrew, anything going down? I know you got a lot of football stuff going on. Waiver wire article. Is it dropping tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be writing it tomorrow. It will be posted Saturday morning. So yeah, we're going to keep that baseball waiver wire going strong right till the end of the season.
Well, perfect. Check him out on Twitter, Andrew_Steifter. Check me at @isitthewelsh. And friends, we'll be back again. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Let's get those playoff championships. It's Andrew. It's Welsh. It's leading off. We're out. Peace, friends.
Yeah.